Did you know CPAs work around the clock on taxes, audits? Yes, it's quite a shock. But business owners, they've got a dream. More tax saving strategy, that's what they need. Welcome to Proactive Tax Strategies. And we're here to take away high tax fears. We got secrets, magic in our hands. Tune in as we travel.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Proactive Tax Strategies. I'm Patrice Sikora. Our host, Ken New, owner of Pinnacle Financial Wealth Management and team-based model consultant, enjoys diving deep into the world of tax strategies. And today we have a special guest, Jeff Stolper, owner of Ideal Advocates Consulting Agency and cost remediation expert. Jeff started on Wall Street 30 years ago in 1993. And by 1995 was the top producer stockbroker at his firm. By 1996, he was recruited to run a Wall Street firm, and by 1997, he had transitioned to co-owning an NYSE franchise brokerage firm. After 10 years on Wall Street and 6 financial licenses, Jeff pivoted and started his own innovative advertising firm called NBP, Neighborhood Business Partnership, which had accrued over 700 business owners in NYC within its first 3 years alone. By the end of 2005, Jeff had gotten involved in a health and wellness direct selling company called Isogenics and became the 68th millionaire legacy member in that company, with more than 30,000 members in his organization worldwide. But in early July of 2013, he created the best business idea of his career, creating and successfully pioneering the bill reduction, bill negotiation industry. Jeff is well regarded as being the best bill negotiator in the world, and his company, Ideal Advocates, as being the premier bill negotiating company in the industry. We are excited to have you on the show today, Jeff, and now let me turn it over to you, Ken, so take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Patrice. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Proactive Tax Strategies. So I'm your host, Ken New. If you've listened to our episodes before, you already know that we're here to educate you about ways to save money. This show is all about tax strategies and money savings. Now, I represent many high net worth people, business owners, and many pay more than their fair share of taxes. So this show is all about money saving strategies and really educating the public about things that very often their CPAs don't know. And speaking of which, today we're going to focus on cost remediation, which is another way for people, specifically business owners, to save money. So welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you so much, Ken and Patrice.
Yeah, so good to have you here. A little bit about yourself, though. I understand that you're a musician and a singer, and you have Hollywood connections. And what got you going with cost remediation when you've got that kind of background in the music industry and transitioning over to finance? So what gives there?
Well, back in high school, I went to the High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts in New York City. And that was the school that the movie Fame was based on. My classmates included Jennifer Aniston, Sonny and Cher's daughter, Chastity, who's now Chaz Bono. And I knew from high school that I was going to do 2 things. I was going to, one, have a track on music as a singer, songwriter, and the other would be as an entrepreneur in business. So I followed both of those up to this point. But, you know, as a father and just having stability, you have to be able to choose a lane. And the lane that I chose was obviously business. And then the music side of it is more for pleasure and not really focusing on the financial stability side of it, but doing it more as a passion project. So that's kind of where they divide.
Okay, interesting. A little bit about myself. I have been in business pretty much my entire life, and business can be so stressful sometimes. And I think there's a phrase that we've coined in our podcast over time, and that is health is wealth. And I think it resonates really for everyone. And it's always an easy day when you're doing what you love to do. And rather than the grind of having to show up for work and things of that nature. but you are regarded as a bill negotiator. And your company, Ideal Advocates, is one of these entities that negotiates bills in this industry, and they call it cost remediation. So, what's cost remediation? It is kicked off with what does this mean, and what's the concept all about?
Cost remediation is a fancy term for remedying overpaying or costs, to have a remedy or solution for it. What it really is, in essence, is reducing your bills, and we're doing it primarily through bill negotiation. So we're reducing your bills. It's basically keeping you with the same provider that you have. Let's say you have internet with Spectrum and you're paying $500 a month. We're going to keep you with Spectrum, not switch you over to a competitor. And then instead of, let's say, $500 a month, we get you to $400 a month for the same bill with the same level of service or better. We're not going to get you downgraded to save you money. We're going to basically either keep you at the same level or upgraded for less money. And then we split the savings with you, which we'll go into in a little bit later. But the idea is that you're going to have the same bills that you, with the providers that you have chosen yourself, and improving your position and optimizing your bills to have the best deal that anybody could possibly get on those bills.
Well, that's interesting. So, how exactly you do that? I mean, do you twist their arm? Are you going to threaten them? We're going to go away from your service? I mean, what's their motivation?
Well, the motivation for the providers, if we take it piece by piece, the providers, we're doing them a service because we're, without them really knowing, we're creating retention for them because we're trying to negotiate a deal with their customers to stay with them. Because as you know, in the marketplace, you have options. You can go to anywhere that you want to go. And then the second thing that we're doing for those providers is that we are allowing them to basically not just maintain those clients and not lose those clients to somewhere else. I mean, that's really the primary motivation, I think, is just that we're going to maintain retention for the provider. But for the clients, well, our clients, is that we're going to save them money. And we understand, we have the expertise over almost 11 years to know who to talk to, know the different market rates for each provider. We're like a one-stop shop where maybe someone in the bill negotiation space that might have started after we started, they might just do one sector, like a trash sector, save money on trash bills or credit card processing. Maybe that's all they do or something like that. But any bill that can be negotiated, which could be 30 different types of bills, which we can go into in a little bit, but we're going to be able to do in one place. We're going to be able to get all the bills that you have done that can be negotiated done with us, as an example. So it's really a win scenario for everyone because the provider still gets to keep that customer, and so that's the leverage that we have with them, obviously. And then the client, our client, will be able to have a lot more money and free money than they would have had not using our service. And every customer, every client that we've ever had in almost 11 years, we've saved money. So every business that we've worked with, we have 100% success rate. So it's guaranteed that if a business works with us, they will have more money working with us than if they don't work with us. So it's a no-brainer proposal.
Okay. So, let me wrap my head around this a little bit more. You're going to create a sticky customer for this business that you're negotiating with. So, you're going to negotiate the bill down, and part of that is the customer is going to stay with them, and that makes them a sticky customer. Kind of reminds me of a commercial. I don't know if you've seen this one before, but where the two people are going up to the hotel desk and one is checking in, and they checked in with a certain service and their room charge was $135. And the next guy comes up and says, "Oh, my bill was $99." And so you have the same hotel, the same room. Is that kind of what we're talking about here? Is that some people are paying more for the same services and you're able to create this relationship with this provider and convince them that they'll take less for the same thing?
Yes, I think the similarity is that the industry is built on a lot of hidden charges and not having the same charge. It's not fair. It's really like there's an imbalance. So I'd say there's about $60 billion in the United States that's being overpaid on their bills, about $60 billion. So there's a lot of money on the
Big
table.
numbers.
Yeah, huge numbers. There's a lot of money on the table for these providers to just have all these different deals set up and to create a gauntlet, which makes it extremely difficult for the average person to get the best deal. They do it with a lot of obscurity, making you seem like you have the best deal. And it's really understanding the whole wide view. That's not the case at all. They're just going to basically try to get as much per customer as they possibly can, and it's understanding all of their tricks and methods. And you call on the phone for half an hour, then the phone disconnects, and then you call back and you reach the wrong department and you get moved all over the place. It really makes it very daunting for the business owner to be able to take the time out of their busy day trying to run their business, which, as we know, I mean, Ken, it's like these days with inflation, it's harder and harder just to get by because the dollar's worth less and less. So they don't even have the time to expertly negotiate this whole thing. And these providers know that, and they're able to, just through the pain of not having to deal with it, that it keeps billions of dollars on the table, billions of dollars on the table.
Absolutely. We're so crazy busy that we don't have time to think about the extra charges. And so you have this inside knowledge then. You've got the technique to be able to figure out where there might be some negotiating points to, and explore those and work through that. Any other techniques about that you'd like to share at this point?
Sure. I mean, we have two different types of clients. So anybody that's listening to this podcast as a business owner, you're number one, maybe you're a do-it-yourselfer client. And a do-it-yourselfer is going to make the attempt. And like you said, Ken, earlier, they're going to have a knowledge base that is really superficial. It only goes as far as maybe I'll call up and threaten that I'm going to leave and go to another provider. And that's the whole of their expertise when they're calling these companies. They don't know anything else other than I'm going to reach the retention department and I'm going to tell them I want to leave if you don't give me the best deal. Okay. And then the other type of client is a delegator. So a delegator is going to basically say, listen, I don't want to deal with this. Here's my bills, have at it. And whatever you get me, I'm happy to give you half, believe me. So the delegator just wants to give us their bills. And the do-it-yourselfer, we say to them, listen, do your best and have at it and see the best that you can get. And then we'll get you the rest of the way. So because of the knowledge base that I've basically established over since 2013, is that we know each provider, we know who to talk to, we know what type of promotions they're running because those promotions are changing. And it's also a skill set to be able to have a command or a wizardry, I think, of influencing those providers to give up every last cent that they're willing to give up and to know where the bottom is. So let's say in your case, Ken, or any of the listeners, you're going in, you don't really know what the best deal is, but you just try to say, listen, give me the best deal or I'm going to leave. And then they give you a deal and you're really happy, but you don't know if that's the bottom. We're going to know if it's the bottom, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're an advocate with inside information and knowledge and the wherewithal to be able to negotiate. So let's talk a little bit about what you do negotiate. So we talked a little bit about spectrum. So that's might be internet. What are the kinds of negotiations are out there that you work with?
Let's say cell phones, internet, landlines, cable or satellite TV, satellite radio like Sirius XM, security monitoring like ADT or Vivint or that sort of thing. Payroll, if you're working with Paychex, ADP for your payroll, credit card processing. If you're taking credit cards and you're
Well, that's a big one.
Oh, a
That's
big
got to
one.
be a big one right there. Yeah. Could
The
you take a
schools,
moment and dive into that one just a little bit? I'm sure there's some
sure.
listeners that would love to know about that.
There's basically three things when it comes to credit card processing that exist. One is that you're working with a credit card company and we can negotiate with them to get you a better deal. So we had a school that we did recently that just on their credit card that they were working with a company called Global, which is a large credit card processor. We saved them over the next 3 years over $80,000 on their credit card fees, $80,000 just on that one credit card processor because the school would take fundraising and things like that they would run through their credit cards. And so just to build on that, you also have plan B is that they could switch providers and that's what normally people do is they have to switch to another credit card processing company. But that migration is a real pain in the neck. It's a headache. And what our company does is that we, in keeping with the same provider, we take the hassle out of it for you, because a migration on something like credit card processing or payroll, it's a lot involved to move from one company to the next. It's a lot of logistics. And then the third thing is that, if you're maybe like you're a liquor store or your retail store and you pass the fees now to the customer, that's something over the last few years that people choose to do, business owners choose to do, is pass the fees to the customer. And it's become a thing and it's annoying for all of us as consumers to now have to pay 3-4% when you go to the pizza shop and you buy your pizza. It's annoying, but those are the three options. So what we do is, for those businesses that don't want to pass the fees to someone else, to their customer, we will negotiate with their provider that they like, minimize any hassle for them, and get them to just, let's say their aggregate fees are 3.5%. Let's say we get them down to 2.5% aggregate. So if they're running $1 million and they're paying 3.5%, over the course of that $1 million, they're going to spend $35,000 in fees. If we get them to $25,000 in fees, now they've saved $10,000 a year on their fees without having to change anything. So that's sort of how that works.
Yeah. So big numbers there. And what's interesting, a takeoff on that is I've gone into businesses, and I'm sure many listeners the same way. You'll see a sign that'll say cash accepted or something of that nature. And they're intimating, we would love to be able to save these credit card charges. So could you pay us cash? Wouldn't that be nice? And maybe a discount for that and so on. So does that make that type of business prime ideal type client for you, like restaurants as an example? What kinds of businesses are really the ones that you help the most, or your ideal?
Our ideal clients would be, it's a very good question, because the more revenue that a business generates, the more that they're going to allocate a percentage of their revenue towards bills, right? So if you have a business that, let's say you have a dentist's office that has $1 million revenue, maybe they're going to allocate 20% of their revenue towards bills, as an example. So that would be $20,000 in bills that they pay, per se. If you have a business that's $10 million, now they're spending $200,000 a month on bills. The more revenue, the better the client, because we're going to save them more money just because they have larger numbers. But we deal with any vertical of business. So as long as you have a brick and mortar business and you have bills that, and we have a vetting process that, just like we were going into some of the bill types, whether they have lawn care, they have pest control, they have trash that they're paying for, they have subscriptions and memberships. Maybe you're paying for Adobe licenses, or you're paying for Salesforce to run your business, or you have a water cooler and you have 5-gallon bottles of water delivered, or you have a restaurant and you're paying for CO2 for carbonation. We could do all of those bills and then some. So the idea is that if you have bills that we identify as qualified bills, right? Let's say you're a small pizza place and you have internet and you just started 6 months ago, and you have a new customer offer and you're paying $50 a month, and that's the only bill you have. Well, that's not a good client, because I'm going to just say you have a new customer offer, you don't have any qualified bills. But if you're a business that's been around for at least a year and you have bills, well, it doesn't matter if you're a dentist's office, doesn't matter if you are a restaurant, a manufacturing company, if you're a city. We've done cities before. We've done utility companies. We've done schools, nonprofits. So it doesn't matter where you are and what type of business, and it doesn't matter which provider you have. We can do it all as far as that goes.
Wow. So it sounds like if you're a bill payer out there, it doesn't matter if you're a business or a public entity, there is an opportunity here.
100%. Yeah. It's one
Yeah.
of those things as well that in almost 11 years pioneering this industry, and we haven't even scratched the surface. Most people have not even heard of the concept of bill negotiation or cost remediation, because we don't really have any real competition that's a company that does business bills, any type of business bills, etc. At that $60 billion, it's just really, there's tens of billions of dollars that's out there for us to recapture back for all of you that are listening right now. And it's really just thinking about it like this. It's like, are you interested in free money? We generate, our business at the core will get you free money over the next 1 to 5 years that you wouldn't have for the same exact thing or better.
Yeah. It reminds me of tax conversations with clients. And I've always advocated the idea that if you're spending a dollar and that dollar can be a tax advantage to you, the money that you're already spending, if you can get it written off on your taxes, then there's a savings, there's an advantage there. So it's really just a matter of paying attention to what's right in front of you, what those opportunities are. So let's go for the big ones now. Or just for a moment, think back. Tell me, what's the biggest cost savings deal you ever swung for somebody?
As an example, we have a client that has over 600 Cricket Wireless locations. So one of their bills, let's just say for their alarm systems through ADT, we saved them over $1 million just on that one bill alone.
Wow.
Yeah, over $1 million just on that one bill. On their trash, they had waste management. We saved them over $100,000 just on that bill, 150,000 or something like that. But so over $1 million for one bill. I mean, that's an example. Another example, we had a client that had 12 offices. It was a $125 million company, 12 offices. They had internet in 8 of the offices with Windstream, and they were paying about $23,000 a month for their internet. And then we got them down almost $12,500 a month for 5 years and saved them $743,000 on that one bill. It's just, and they have the exact same thing. Nothing changed. Same Windstream, same level of service, no downgrades, just over 5 years. It's almost $12,500 a month. And then what we do is we split the savings with them. So they'll keep 50%, we'll get 50%. So at the end of the day, I think it was $371,500 each. And that's, I mean, what can, now, if you take your side of the fence, you can, being a financial professional or anyone that's listening, what can you do with another $371,000 over 5 years for your clients with that free money that we've generated for them? That's the question, right?
Oh, that's huge. Well, you're out there making friends,
Yes, definitely.
lifelong friends. And do you have repeat customers where they'll come back and ask you, come back in again and, hey, take a look at what we're doing again, see what you can do here?
Absolutely. I mean, the term of the savings, we established the term of the savings before we negotiate. So I'd say, hey, Ken, listen, you have trash with waste management. Ideally, I think you've been with them 10 years. I think you're probably going to be with them for another 5, right? Yes, I like them. I'm going to be with them for another 5 years. Great. So we'll get you a 5-year deal if we can. And then we'll go from there. And so the idea is that if the savings term is going to be negotiated, we're going to establish a savings term before we negotiate that's going to be optimum for you, for the client. You might say, oh, I have, for my internet, I have Comcast. I hate them. But they're the only game in town. Let's only do 2 years on that deal with Comcast. So we have the term savings term in advance. And so what happens after 2 years, to answer your question, is then we'll reach back out because we have our platform. It'll notify us that it's time to renew the bill. And then we'll have the client do a renewal agreement so that we can renegotiate another term of savings once that term is up.
Terrific. Yeah. Awesome. Any tax savings go along with this, with the cost remediation services in itself?
Absolutely. And that's why it's a perfect match. And being on this podcast and working together, Ken, is because let's say we save a business $1 million, okay? And then they're going to keep $500,000 and then they're going to pay us $500,000, right? So the $500,000 that they keep is free money and they could use it for however they want. And you advising them could say, hey, well, it's $500,000. Let's figure out what to do with it. But the $500,000 that they pay us in fees, we're a service business. So as a professional service, they could also write off the other $500,000 on their taxes. So they're going to benefit more than just half of the savings. They're also going to get the write-offs from the fees that they pay us as well.
I love it. Yeah, that's a win-win, and hooray for the consumer.
Yes,
The small
absolutely.
business owner, the engine of America. Wow, that's terrific. What else would you like to say? We're at the point now, I think, where everyone is listening is going, how do I get a hold of Jeff? I need to find out about something here. And so, no, we're at the point now to, okay, well, where do we go from here?
Absolutely. I think in a nutshell is you have to ask yourself, listen, if I have bills that I'd like to get lower, and I'd like to get the best deal on those bills, and I'd like to have free money, and I'd like to be able to have the tax write-offs. And by the way, if we work on a bill for you and there's no savings on that bill, there's no fee for that bill. So it's important to note that it's contingent on actual results. Every dollar that we've ever made over 11 years, almost 11 years, is because we've put a dollar in the business owner's pockets. So if we don't save you any money, then we don't make any money ourselves, right? So
Yeah, that's a fair equation.
totally. I mean, you take other industries like the legal industry, right? You hire a lawyer, and you want to have an outcome, and you pay them X amount per hour, and that's not guaranteed anything. You might lose the case, and all of your money goes down the drain. But with us, it's just, once again, you're only paying us for half of the free money that we generate for you. And if we don't have any savings on a particular bill that we work on, there's no fee for that bill. So in order to reach out to us, there's a couple different ways. Number one, our website is, even though it's Ideal Advocates, we chose the catchy what'syourideal.com. So what is your ideal? What do you want to have as your ideal? So what'syourideal.com. You can reach us that way. You can also reach out. You could go to paylessforyourbills.com. Payless, 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 FORYOUR, bills, BILLS.com. And there's, through one of my channel partners, there is a 3-minute video. It shows the bills that we do, the bills that we don't do, which I'll actually share right now. We don't do a few different bill types, like insurance can't be negotiated. You have to switch providers. State law doesn't allow insurance companies to negotiate. Bills like utility bills, the utility companies don't negotiate either. Credit card debt, we don't do. But any other type of bill that we can do, pay less for your bills, you'll see the list of that, and you can click a link, and it'll go right to my calendar to set up a complimentary savings review, and we'll go over on that 20-minute appointment over what bills we potentially could lower for you and which ones cannot be lowered, and see what qualified bills you have. So those are just two of the resources that we have for you to reach us.
Yeah, terrific. It really sounds like very good time well spent to investigate for any business owner out there. And as you've said, the public companies and many others, anybody paying a bill is a potential saver in this scenario. So, and again, we can get you the information on our website at www.pinnaclefinancialwealthmgmt.com. And give Jenny Giroux a call at 321-454-3623. And we can get you connected with Jeff. And what an awesome service you have. Money out of thin air. People saving money just because they have inside information and they've got an expert who knows how to negotiate and will split the savings with you 50-50. And what's expected of the client? What's expected of the business owner? What part do they play? Or do you're a one turnkey, one-stop shop, you'll make it all happen? How's that work?
The only thing that the client has to do is they have to facilitate sending over a copy of their bills. So normally you can go to your provider's website and download a PDF file, and then we'll have you email it over to us. So once we do the appointment, once you get on my calendar, we'll do an appointment. Let's say you have 10 different bills. Then I would say, okay, great. Download a copy of those bills, or if you get a paper copy of those bills, have someone on your team scan it and then email that over to us. So it's super easy. And then we just do like a 1-page DocuSign, which is not like we have a 6-page terms and conditions agreement. It's a very transparent 1-page that I go over with you. And then I do a quick bill interview with you and say, hey, listen, let's go over. I have a few questions on each of the bills. How long have you been with that provider? Do you pay with auto pay? How long do we want the savings per bill? And then we have everything lined up before we get to work and negotiate for you, that you have agreed that's the ideal scenario for your bills. And that is it. Then you sit back and wait for the savings.
Terrific. I like the concept. One-stop shop is what it sounds like to me. Give Jeff
Absolutely.
a call, get an appointment set up, get through the process, and save money. I love it. Thanks,
Yes.
Jeff. Great presentation.
Thank you. And then my question, I guess, for you and for anyone listening is, with what's being presented today, what is the downside? What would be the downside for a client to use the service or to try the service, really? If you look at it
Well,
from the
let
other.
me think for a second. What's the downside? I don't think there's a downside. What am I missing?
I think and you being a senior financial expert for all those decades, Ken, is that there really isn't a downside. When I created this sort of concept, I was thinking about the term irresistible offer. And an irresistible offer is when you present something to someone and you don't get any resistance back. It's like, example, if you knew there were no strings attached and you could have a brand new 2024 Mercedes for $100 and there's no strings attached, logically you'd say, great, I'm not even looking to buy a car, but for $100, I can make a profit on it. I'll buy your car. It's an irresistible offer. Once again, as we know, Ken, in this world, things are not always logical. Things are also emotional. And I know there was an experiment that was done a couple of times, one with a $100 bill, another one that was done with an ounce of gold in New York City. And they were offering an ounce of gold. In another study, they did a $100 bill, and not everyone took the ounce of gold or took the $100 bill. So that's what we're dealing with, is that we're dealing with that irrationality to think, well, what's the catch here? Is it some scam? Why are you doing this? Why are you giving me? That's really the only barrier, that if we can overcome that, maybe someone, a business owner out there that's listening, thought, well, I had identity theft. How am I going to trust you? This or that. And I don't know you guys. It sounds like it's a great concept, but I don't know you. The way that we overcome that is we just say, listen, if you want to do a pilot and we do a couple of bills and show you that it's legit and it works, why don't we start with 1 or 2 bills and go from there? You have 20 locations. Let's do 1 location first, show you how that works. And then you can see that everything is credible. And once again, you're not paying us unless we show you the savings. So one other thing I think that we've run into over the years is that you have to obviously pay us for our service. So someone might not even realize, a business owner, wow, you saved me more money than I thought that you even could save us. Like, I didn't think that you'd save us $50,000. So I'm going to owe you $25,000. And they get shell shocked with it. So I think because they're kind of dazzled, like, I had no idea that I'd have that much savings. So the way that we deal with that is that every business has different liquidity. We'll work out a solution with you, whether it's going to be 1 payment or 2 payments, or if you need an extended payment plan over 6 months or 12 months. We have those options. So we'll figure out the right option and we work backwards from how much money we save you. I always say, let's see how much money we save you first, and then we'll figure out what the right pay plan is for you, because we might save you $2,000 and then $1,000 is no big deal. If it's 25,000, maybe we'll figure out something that works for you. So I'd say those are realistically the only sort of resistance points that we have, even with an irresistible offer.
Sure, sure. Sounds like a no-brainer until you get to the point of, well, I still have to pay you with the savings that I've retained here. So in order for that to be win-win and you properly compensated, then there's a spirit of cooperation there.
Exactly. And we've always been able to work out a solution with every client. So we always have figured out a way to make it work. And I think another thing as well, too, is when you're talking about savings, sometimes a client might say, well, I'm not going to realize that savings for 3 years or 5 years or 2 years. Why am I paying you up front, so to speak, for it now? And the answer is, well, you're investing in your savings. Now, since my background originally was from Wall Street, and I look at different types of investments, so to speak, if you go to a bank and you want a CD, you're going to have to have that liquidity of, let's say, $10,000 to put into the CD in order to get that 4% return, or any type of investment. You have to have the money to get the money back. So with us, the way I explained it for someone that's sort of stuck on that is I say, listen, you're paying us, we save you $50,000, you pay us $25,000, plus you get the tax breaks. But the $25,000 over the next, your savings was over 3 years. In 3 years from now, you're going to double your money on you're paying us $25,000, you're going to have $50,000. So you're actually doubling your money without any risk, like an investment, in 3 years. Do you know any investment that there's no risk that you can double your money, which we're doing through lowering your bills? And that's someone that's a little bit more sophisticated, like your audience can. They can get it like, no, I'm not going to double my money with no risk over 3 years. And that's exactly what's going to happen utilizing this service.
Sure, yeah, you have to understand that that money was going to come out of your pocket anyway, and now it's not. And because it's not, then that is an asset to you.
Exactly. So all in all, for anyone that's listening and for your audience, Ken, is that my company was built as a service business to be an advocate. And I chose the word advocate very intentionally because an advocate's sort of your champion or your hero that understands that we're here to help you. And it's really a heart-based business, even though there's a lot of things in your head that's involved in making decisions, is that, look, if you have more money for the same exact thing, you have more options and you have more wherewithal to enjoy your life and to run your business. And as we know with the pandemic that happened, it had been over the last maybe 4 or 5 years, there's been a lot of damage that's been done as a result of it. And this is what really can get people much more cash positive over the next number of years to really build their companies with more strength.
Yeah, what a way to combat inflation is just to go to the root cause and not pay more to begin with. And so what a tremendous concept. So excellent presentation, loving it, wanting to talk to business owners and those that we can hook you up with and get you to work on that.
Thank you so much. And what's most important to me is about client experience. Most of our business over 11 years has come through referrals because, once again, if we deliver the savings to you, which we always do, you're going to be happy. And then if you're someone that is service oriented, you want to help your fellow entrepreneurs or business owners to also have the same. And the key is that you have a great client experience. And that's really where our focus is at Ideal Advocates, is to give you a really minimizing the stress and sort of hassle-free experience in order to deliver the savings to you, and just really good customer relations and service so that you're happy. And then we can continue the process to save other people money. And that's how we do it.
Sure, absolutely. The best new client is always someone who has an experience that's been relayed to them by a friend or a fellow entrepreneur or someone who already knows what you can do and can vouch for it. And they're walking in the door with, like, how do we do this? Let's make this happen.
Absolutely. I was just going to say it's about credibility. It's really about credibility. And credibility is established, obviously, when you have your own organic, natural experience yourself subjectively. It's great to hear, oh, this person saved $1 million, this one did this. But if you don't have your own organic story to tell, it really disconnects and limits the ability to influence someone else to make a good decision because it's not authentic. So I really have built my company on authenticity, transparency, to be able to just, hey, this is what it is. Let us do our thing. We'll show you how it works, to establish the credibility with you. And then also for the businesses that we've done, we've already established that credibility and reputation where, if the person that's the business owners were laying it to someone else, they have credibility with them. And they'd say, well, if it's good enough for Ken, it's good enough for me. I don't even really have to vet it out. I know that this is going to be a great thing.
That's right. And we're not talking about chump change here. We're talking about some big dollars as well. So
Correct.
what a great service. Jeff, thank you so much for this presentation. I know that it's going to resonate really well with the listeners.
Thank you so much. And for everyone listening, look forward to connecting with you in the near future. And thank you, Ken and his team, for having me on today. And I look forward to really having some great experiences with you over the next many years.
Terrific. Thanks again.
Yes, and listeners, all that contact information will be in the show notes, so just go check that. You can reach Jeff and you can reach Ken. For more informative and insightful shows with Ken and his guests, all you need to do is follow this podcast, and of course, please share it with others. I'm Patrice Sikora, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you for listening to the Proactive Tax Strategies podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.pinnaclefinancialwealthmanagement.com or give us a call at 321-454-3623. Securities offered through Arete Wealth Management, LLC, members FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Arete Wealth Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisory firm. Pinnacle Financial Wealth Management, Arete Wealth Advisors, and Arete Wealth Management are independent entities.